My name is Lena Morris. I'm 34 years old. I live alone in a second-floor apartment in Austin, Texas. I work freelance, mostly copywriting, sometimes editing, which means I spend most days talking to no one and most nights overthinking everything. I haven't cried in 3 years, not even when I found out my ex-fiancé was dead, not even when I opened the package. It came on a Tuesday. That's the part that still bothers me, weirdly. How ordinary it all was. I was making coffee, barefoot, wearing the same t-shirt I slept in. I thought it was a book I ordered. It wasn't. It was the ring. The same engagement ring I buried 8 years ago. The one I buried with my bare hands at 3:12 in the morning, in the middle of a state park. The one I swore no one would ever find. But there it was, sitting in a plain black box, cold, untouched, cleaned, like someone had polished the dirt and memory off it. Tucked inside was a small piece of paper, torn from a notebook. One sentence, in messy black ink. "You thought it was over?" At first I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it felt so ridiculous, so movie-like, that my brain rejected it. I thought maybe it was fake. Maybe someone bought a duplicate. Maybe this was a prank. Then I saw the scratch, a tiny line on the inner band, barely visible, a flaw only I knew was there. I made it myself, the night I got it. I remember holding the ring with shaking hands, so overwhelmed by the proposal, by the pressure, that I dropped it. It hit the edge of the sink, left a mark. It was my ring. I hadn't spoken to Josh in years, not since the night I left him. We never had closure. There was no breakup talk, no therapy, no screaming match. There was only a noise, a thud, a breath held too long, and then the sound of my own footsteps, running. I thought I had made peace with it. I started a new life. Quiet, careful, neat. No relationships, no drama, no real friends even. Just co-workers I only knew from Slack. I told myself that was healing. I told myself I was better now. But then the package came. And just like that, my safe little world, my carefully curated nothingness, cracked open. Because someone out there knows what I did, or worse, what I thought I did. And they're not done with me yet. I didn't touch the box again. I left it on the kitchen counter and stared at it from across the room like it was ticking. I opened my laptop, tried to work, wrote half a sentence, deleted it, tried again, closed it. I opened my freezer, took out the bottle of vodka I swore I wouldn't touch unless someone died. Took a sip, took another. It wasn't enough to make the knot in my chest go away. The last time I touched that ring, I was barefoot, standing in the dirt, shivering, holding a flashlight in one hand and a shovel in the other. I buried it like it was a body, maybe because, in a way, it was. I don't know what possessed me to check. I hadn't looked him up in years. Not even after the whispers, the rumors from mutuals about the accident. But something about the ring made me open that search bar. Joshua T. Riley. The first result was his obituary. The second was a Reddit post, written by someone with a throwaway account. No picture, no real name, just one line. She buried more than the ring that night. I didn't sleep that night. I tried. I really did. I lay on my side, then my back, then the other side. I turned the fan on, then off. I counted. I breathed. I played brown noise on my phone. Nothing worked, because once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. That post, that single line on Reddit, it clawed under my skin like glass. Not just because someone knew what I did, but because someone was watching. It was posted 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. That's when I noticed my spare key had gone missing. At the time, I chalked it up to forgetfulness. Thought maybe I left it in my car or dropped it somewhere. But now I wondered if someone had been inside my apartment. I got out of bed, poured another drink, stood in the dark kitchen and stared at the ring again. It was still there. still real, still waiting, like it wanted something from me. I picked it up with 2 fingers. Cold, lighter than I remembered, held it up to the window, watched it catch the streetlight glow. My mind split in half, one side whispering, "Call someone," and the other side reminding me I had no one to call. Not really. I could have messaged Carla, an old friend from college, but we hadn't talked in years. She was married now, kids, clean house. I could have called my mom, but she'd just ask if I was taking my meds. I put the ring down and opened my laptop again. This time I went deeper, found Josh's obituary again, read every line. It said he died in a car accident outside Dallas. Single vehicle collision. No foul play suspected. He was declared dead at the scene. That was it. No photo, no memorial, no comments. It felt wrong. Josh was always surrounded by people. Charm oozed off him like cheap cologne. Even when he was being awful, he still had a following. Friends, co-workers, exes who stuck around. But now, silence. The kind of silence that buzzes. I searched his name on Facebook. Nothing new, just old posts. Happy ones. Before everything got bad. I scrolled down until I saw the picture. My stomach turned. It was us. From 5 years ago, right before I left, at a New Year's party. Josh had one arm around my shoulders. He was holding a beer, smiling wide. I was smiling too, but it wasn't real. I could see it now. What made my chest cave in wasn't the photo itself. It was the fact that someone had tagged me in it 2 hours ago. I clicked on the tag. It didn't lead to my profile. It led to a fake one. My name, a blurry picture, a cover photo of trees, and a bio that read, "You don't know what she buried." I slammed the laptop shut, breathed in, held it, breathed out. Then I did what I hadn't done in years. I drove back to the park, the place I buried it, just to see. It was 2:43 a.m. when I got there. I parked near the edge of the trail, headlights off, walked the same path I walked that night. The dirt had shifted over the years. Trees were taller, some landmarks were gone, but I knew the spot by feel, like a scar you stop seeing but always notice when you touch. There was no hole, no sign of digging, but the ground looked disturbed, flattened, like someone had pressed something down not long ago. My chest tightened. I looked around, listened. Nothing but crickets and the hum of faraway highway. Then I saw it. A small plastic stake, buried just enough to be subtle. I pulled it up. Taped to the stake was another note. This one said, "You buried the wrong thing." The drive home was a blur. I kept checking my rearview mirror, half expecting headlights that wouldn't turn off, half expecting to see a familiar car. Josh used to drive a silver 4Runner. Every time I see one now, I feel my pulse skip. I got home, locked the door, bolted it, pushed the couch in front of it, just in case. And still, I couldn't sleep. I laid on the floor with the ring next to me, just watching it, not touching it, just watching. Like it might get up and walk away, like it might start whispering, like it already was. When the sun came up, I went to the only person I still trusted. Sophie, my half-sister. We shared a dad, barely knew each other growing up, but got closer in our 20s. She was the only one who didn't call me dramatic when I left Josh. She listened, believed me, or so I thought. I showed her the ring, the notes, told her about the Reddit post, the fake profile, the photo tag. She looked worried, but not surprised. "Are you sure you buried it deep enough?" she asked. I blinked. "What?" She shrugged. "Just saying. If it was me, I would have burned it." Something in her voice felt off, like she wasn't shocked this was happening, like she'd been waiting for it. It started with smells. Funny how memory works like that. It's never a full picture. Just a flicker, a texture, a scent. When I got home that night after talking to Sophie, I poured myself a drink and sat on the floor, knees pulled to my chest. The ring was back in its box. The note taped to the stake lay beside it. The room smelled like dust, and faintly, bleach. Josh always used bleach. I remember the first time he cleaned my bathroom for me. Said it was embarrassing that I'd let mold grow around the sink. I thanked him. I actually thanked him. Then he kissed my forehead and said, "You'd be helpless without me." I laughed, because back then, I thought that was love. I started writing things down, not in any organized way, just freeform, on yellow legal paper. I wrote whatever I remembered. Details. My name is Lena Morris. I'm 34 years old. I live alone in a second-floor apartment in Austin, Texas. I work freelance, mostly copywriting, sometimes editing, which means I spend most days talking to no one and most nights overthinking everything. I haven't cried in 3 years, not even when I found out my ex-fiancée was dead, not even when I opened the package. It came on a Tuesday. That's the part that still bothers me, weirdly. How ordinary it all was. I was making coffee, barefoot, wearing the same t-shirt I slept in. I thought it was a book I ordered. It wasn't. It was the ring. The same engagement ring I buried 8 years ago. The one I buried with my bare hands at 3:12 in the morning in the middle of a state park. The one I swore no one would ever find. But there it was, sitting in a plain black box, cold, untouched, cleaned, like someone had polished the dirt and memory off it. Tucked inside was a small piece of paper, torn from a notebook. One sentence, in messy black ink. "You thought it was over?" At first I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it felt so ridiculous, so movie-like, that my brain rejected it. I thought maybe it was fake. Maybe someone bought a duplicate. Maybe this was a prank. Then I saw the scratch, a tiny line on the inner band, barely visible, a flaw only I knew was there. I made it myself, the night I got it. I remember holding the ring with shaking hands, so overwhelmed by the proposal, by the pressure, that I dropped it. It hit the edge of the sink, left a mark. It was my ring. I hadn't spoken to Josh in years, not since the night I left him. We never had closure. There was no breakup talk, no therapy, no screaming match. There was only a noise, a thud, a breath held too long, and then the sound of my own footsteps, running. I thought I had made peace with it. I started a new life. Quiet, careful, neat. No relationships, no drama, no real friends even. Just co-workers I only knew from Slack. I told myself that was healing. I told myself I was better now. But then the package came. And just like that, my safe little world, my carefully curated nothingness, cracked open. Because someone out there knows what I did, or worse, what I thought I did. And they're not done with me yet. I didn't touch the box again. I left it on the kitchen counter and stared at it from across the room like it was ticking. I opened my laptop, tried to work, wrote half a sentence, deleted it, tried again, closed it. I opened my freezer, took out the bottle of vodka I swore I wouldn't touch unless someone died. Took a sip, took another. It wasn't enough to make the knot in my chest go away. The last time I touched that ring, I was barefoot, standing in the dirt, shivering, holding a flashlight in one hand and a shovel in the other. I buried it like it was a body, maybe because, in a way, it was. I don't know what possessed me to check. I missed. It wasn't from a number I recognized. No transcript, just audio. I pressed play. At first it was silent. Then, breathing. Then Josh's voice, low, broken. Just one sentence. She doesn't know the whole story. Click. No timestamp. No context. Just that. I didn't sleep that night either. Instead, I drove again. But not to the park. This time, I went to the lake, the place where everything truly ended. It was fall. 8 years ago. Josh had just lost his job. He'd been spiraling for weeks, drinking too much, snapping at strangers, disappearing for hours. That night, I told him I was leaving. We were standing at the edge of the lake. He begged. Then he screamed. Then he laughed, said no one would believe me, that I was fragile, unstable, dangerous. He stepped forward. Too fast. I backed away. He lunged, slipped, hit the edge of the dock. The sound still echoes in my skull. I didn't check his pulse. I didn't scream. I didn't call 911. I ran. The next day I went back. There was no body, just the ring in my coat pocket, still warm from my hand. I buried it that night, and I told myself he must have survived, until the obituary, until the package, until now. Now, I wasn't so sure. I stopped answering texts. Not that I got many to begin with, but even Sophie's messages. I left unread. My phone stayed on Do Not Disturb. My laptop stayed open, tabs piling up like dirty dishes. I barely ate, barely slept. I just searched. I couldn't stop, because if I stopped, it would catch up to me. Whatever it was. The truth, the guilt, the parts I was still hiding even from myself. So I dug. Emails, old voicemails, archived chats, Reddit subs from years ago, obituaries, social media accounts that hadn't posted since 2016. I became a woman possessed, and no one knew. Because I didn't let them. I lied to my clients, told them I was traveling. I lied to my therapist, said I was feeling better. I even lied to Sophie, told her I was going to bed early, when I was actually sitting in my closet at 3 a.m., listening to Josh's voicemail on loop. She doesn't know the whole story. He said it like a warning, or a confession. I didn't know which one scared me more. And then came the texts. Unmarked number, no ID. First one, you sure you buried him? Second one, check your inbox. I opened my email. One new message, no subject, no name, just an attachment, a picture of me from 8 years ago, standing at the edge of the lake, taken from behind. You could see my back, my hair, the shovel in my hand. You could also see something else, a figure in the woods, watching me. I closed my laptop. My hands were shaking. I couldn't breathe. My vision went blurry. I remember thinking, this is it. I'm losing it. I'm finally breaking. But another part of me, colder, sharper, whispered, no, you're finally seeing it. The next morning, I went back to Sophie's. I didn't tell her in advance, just showed up, banged on the door until she opened. Her eyes were swollen, her hands trembling. She didn't say anything, just stepped aside and let me in. The place smelled like cinnamon and bleach. She'd been crying. I think someone's following me now too, she said. I saw a man outside the coffee shop yesterday, just staring. I showed her the picture. She went pale. Where did you get that? Email. From who? No name. We sat in silence. Then she said something I hadn't expected. You know Mom knew him first, right? I blinked. What? Josh, before you met him. She knew him. I laughed, out loud. It was bitter and short. That's not possible, I said. But Sophie just looked at me. I found old emails, she said, from when I was going through Dad's stuff. Mom and Josh were in touch. Before he ever met you, before college. She introduced you to. No, that's wrong, I said, standing. She didn't even like him. She always said he gave her bad vibes. That was for your benefit, Sophie said quietly. So you'd trust her more than him. I couldn't breathe, because suddenly the timeline didn't make sense anymore. Josh didn't meet me by accident. He was sent. I went home, Didn't even take the highway. I drove aimlessly for hours, pulling off side roads, scanning for headlights behind me. Nothing. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was getting closer. I started keeping a knife under my pillow. I unplugged my webcam, taped over the microphone. I stopped opening my mail. I started talking out loud to myself, just to feel like I wasn't alone. That night, I did something I hadn't done since I was 17. I called my mother. She picked up on the third ring. "Lena?" She sounded surprised, not happy, just puzzled. "I need to ask you something," I said. Pause. "Are you okay?" "I'm not looking for comfort," I said. "I'm looking for the truth." Silence. Then I asked, "Did you know Josh before I met him?" She exhaled sharply. Not a gasp, not a denial, just a weary sound, like someone caught mid-lie, already deciding how to spin it. "Lena, it was a long time ago." "So you did." "I was trying to protect you." That's when I hung up. For the next 2 hours I screamed into a pillow, cried until I tasted blood. Then I stopped, because I realized something. I'd been trying to understand them, trying to justify it, make it make sense, but it didn't. Because the truth was simpler than all that. They wanted to keep me quiet. Josh, my mother, maybe even Sophie. They wanted me broken. They didn't expect me to dig back. That night, I got another email, one line. "Come back to the lake, or I send the tape." No name, no attachment, just that. I packed a flashlight and the ring, not because I was ready, but because I wasn't hiding anymore. The lake hadn't changed. Not really. The water still made that quiet lapping sound. The wind still moved the trees in slow, suspicious circles. Even the dock, old, warped, half-rotted, was still there. Still holding itself together like it didn't know it should have fallen apart years ago. Like me. I parked a mile out and walked the rest of the way. Didn't want headlights announcing I'd arrived. Didn't want whoever sent the message to know I was afraid. But I was. God, I was. Not of dying. Of what I might find. Of what I might remember. I reached the clearing just before midnight. No one was there. No lights. No cars. Just the rustle of dry leaves and the distant hiss of bugs doing their thing. I waited. 10 minutes. 15. Then I saw it. On the dock. Taped to one of the cracked wood posts. A phone. Old burnt orange case. Slightly cracked screen. I picked it up. It unlocked without a code. There was only one video on it. Labeled, "Lena, watch me." I sat on the edge of the dock. Pressed play. At first, just darkness. Then the screen flickered. A man's face. Josh. Alive. Not recent. But not old either. He looked older than I remembered. Maybe a year before he died. He was crying, mouth trembling, red eyes. He stared at the camera like it was the last person left who'd ever forgive him. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said. "Any of you. I thought I could fix it." A pause. But she wouldn't let me. My stomach twisted. "Your mom, she said you were fragile, that you needed someone to guide you, that you couldn't handle the full truth." He looked down, then up again. "She made me record this. Said if anything happened to me, it'd be proof. Not of what I did, but of what she did." He leaned closer. "There was no accident, Lena." His voice cracked. "They faked it. I'm not dead. But I wish I was." Static. Then darkness. Then it cut off. I dropped the phone. My pulse thundered in my ears. I wasn't sure if I was shaking or if the whole dock was moving beneath me. I couldn't tell what was real anymore. If Josh was alive, why come now? Why torment me? Why dig all this up? Unless this wasn't about him. Not really. Unless it was never about Just him. I ran. Back to the car, keys shaking in my hand, mouth dry, mind spiraling. I called Sophie. She picked up on the second ring. "Did you know?" I asked. Silence. "Did you know he was alive?" "Lena, don't you fucking lie to me." "I didn't know for sure," she said quietly, "but I suspected." My throat burned. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't know who was listening, or if I was next." I drove to my mother's house. Didn't warn her, didn't knock, just slammed my fist on the door until it opened. She stood there in her robe, her hair graying, her face like stone. "Lena," she said, "you're scaring me." "No," I said. "You don't get to say that." I pushed past her into the living room. She didn't stop me, just followed slowly. "You lied," I said. "You've always lied." She sat down in her armchair, folded her hands. "You were always so dramatic," she murmured. "Even as a child, you never could handle pressure." I stepped closer. "What did you do to him?" She looked up. "I saved you." I don't remember everything that happened after that. Just flashes, me yelling, her smiling, her telling me that he wasn't good for the family's image, that she had to make it disappear, that she paid for silence, paid for fake records, paid people to make sure I never asked the right questions. "That night at the lake," she said, "he was meant to scare you, that's all. But you ran, you disappeared. We had to clean up after your mess. So you made him disappear. We gave him a new life, with conditions. He didn't follow them, so now you're here." I could have hit her. I didn't. I just left. I didn't go home. I went to a hotel 2 towns over, paid in cash, sat on the bed and stared at the ring, still in its black box, still watching me. This time, I didn't flinch. I picked it up, and I recorded a video. "Hi, my name is Lena Morris, and this is my confession. I've spent 8 years hiding a truth I didn't understand. 8 years telling myself I was crazy, or overreacting, or broken. But I wasn't. I was manipulated by a man who claimed to love me, and by a mother who never did. I'm not afraid anymore. I know what happened, and I know who did it. Attached is every file I have: voicemails, photos, emails, bank transfers, the flash drive Sophie gave me, the phone from the dock, all of it. If this goes live, it means I didn't make it. But I'm done being quiet. Then I scheduled the upload. Set it to go public in 48 hours. Just in case. When I got home, I found the door open. The ring was gone. But I wasn't scared. Not anymore. I poured a glass of wine, sat on the balcony, watched the sky start to lighten. Not quite dawn, but close. And I whispered to no one in particular, "I warned you. My name is Lena Morris. I'm 34 years old. And this time, I'm not asking for the truth. I'm taking it. It's been 4 days since the last time I cried. 3 since I spoke to anyone. 2 since I realized I'm not in a revenge story. I'm in an erasure. And I'm not going quietly." I left my apartment the next morning with only 3 things: a prepaid phone, a hard drive with everything I'd collected, and the ring I left the rest. Clothes, files, photos, furniture. The scent of bleach and betrayal soaked into every fiber. I booked a motel 30 miles outside the city under a different name, Claire Winters, paid in cash. No IDs, no questions. First thing I did was pull the curtains shut, stack the chair against the door, and turn off location services. Second thing? I opened the laptop and started digging. The phone from the dock had metadata. Sloppy. Whoever filmed that Josh video didn't scrub the GPS data. I traced the coordinates to a storage unit on the outskirts of Houston, registered to a shell company. Name: Fairchild Holdings, LLC. The same company I found listed on donation receipts from my mother's philanthropy group. So there it was. Josh's last known message came from a box in the dark, paid for by the same people who built the cage I grew up in. Coincidence? No. It was a message, and not just from Josh. I opened the audio Sophie had given me again, listened closely this time. Not to the voices, to the background. There was a hum, faint, rhythmic. I ran it through a sound profile tool. It wasn't static, it was machinery. An air handler model only used in hospitals, specifically older wings, pre-2000s build. I cross-referenced the audio signature with a registry of facilities, 3 matches in the state, all of them with donations from my mother's charity in the last 10 years. I added a pin to my map. I built a wall in that motel room. Literally, printed everything out, taped it in a web. Names, dates, wire transfers, red string logic, handwritten quotes from emails. At the center, Mom, circled twice, underlined. But it was the name off to the side that kept pulling me. Michael A. No photo, no clear last name. Just whispers. The problem fixer. The one you call when you want someone disappeared. Not dead, just undone. He's a ghost. But I had something he didn't know. I remembered his voice. He called once, right after Josh died. I'd forgotten. Said he was a legal liaison. Asked if I needed grief counseling. He had this slow, syrupy way of speaking, like a man who enjoyed silence too much. I searched again. This time for anyone who'd gotten a call like that. Widows, ex-partners, whistleblowers. One name came up. Tyler Sandler. His wife had died in a suspicious accident in 2014, reported suicide. But Tyler had given an interview later, claiming he'd received a call from a man offering to clean it all up in exchange for his silence. The name he gave? Michael. No last name. I found Tyler. Small-town mechanic now, off-grid. Took 2 burner calls and a lie about being a reporter, but he picked up. I didn't say Josh's name. I just said, "Did he tell you grief was like a leak in the ceiling?" Tyler went quiet. Then said, "Meet me, but not over the phone, and don't wear anything traceable." Meanwhile, the threats didn't stop. Another email hit my inbox. "You've got till Friday, or someone else takes the fall." Attached was a screenshot of Sophie walking into her apartment. Date stamped 2 hours ago. It wasn't a warning. It was a chess move, but they forgot one thing. I'm not playing defense anymore. I printed a fresh document. Title: Case File, Lena versus the Machine. I wrote one name at the top, then another, then another. By dawn, I had a list. By nightfall, I had a plan. This wasn't just about Josh. This was about everyone they thought they'd broken, and I was going to crack it wide open. Not with violence, with exposure. Tyler Sandler lived 2 counties over. He met me at a highway rest stop just before midnight. Tall, gaunt, eyes like someone who hadn't slept through the night since his wife jumped. He got in my car and didn't look at me for a full minute. Then he said, "You're not a reporter." I didn't lie. "No." "You one of them?" "No." He nodded slowly, like he knew I wasn't lying, but also didn't care anymore. Then he handed me a flash drive. He called himself Michael Arthur, Tyler said. Not his real name, obviously. Always used burner numbers. But the voice? Smooth, calm, like a guidance counselor who could kill you in your sleep. I didn't blink. He told me I could bury it all, Tyler continued, that my wife's debt, her past, her hospital records, everything could disappear. Said the police would stop asking questions if I just kept my mouth shut. Said my daughter would never have to know. I finally spoke. And did they? Tyler nodded. For a while. But then I got a letter. No return address. Just one sentence. You owe us quiet. Same damn handwriting as the one I got last week. I reached into my bag, pulled out the envelope that had been left at Sophie's. Tyler stared at it like it burned his eyes. Same slant, he muttered. Same R, same loop in the Y. I took a breath. We're not the only ones, are we? He shook his head. There's more. The flash drive he gave me was from his wife's old therapist. Secretly recorded sessions. Michael Arthur had visited her too, under the guise of mental health advocacy. But he told her she was dangerous, that she'd be ruining her daughter if she didn't check herself in voluntarily. He used phrases like containment and controlled narrative. He made her believe she was a monster. 3 weeks later, she jumped. I drove home numb, or rather, to the motel. Motel was home now. I plugged in the drive, archived everything, made 4 encrypted copies, uploaded one to a secure backup with a dead man's switch. If I didn't log in every 72 hours, it would blast to every journalist, whistleblower subreddit, and law student mailing list I had queued. Insurance. But I needed more than horror stories. I needed proof. I needed paper, real names, bank transfers, tax records, something hard, something public. So I turned to the only person who knew where my mother buried her messes. Dad. He'd been dead 5 years. Cancer. Quiet. He was the softest one, but also the most afraid. I used to think he didn't protect me because he didn't care. Now I knew the truth. He didn't protect me because he couldn't. I went back to the old house, our family home, the one Sophie had refused to sell, even after everything. She met me there, quietly, still shaking after what had happened, still not asking too many questions. There was a strange stillness between us now. Like sisters on opposite sides of a war neither of us started. She unlocked the door and said, "Don't be long." Dad's study was untouched, books still on the shelf, smell of pipe tobacco and stale paper. I went to the 3rd drawer of his old desk, the one he always kept locked. The key was taped under the chair. Inside, folders, dozens of them, receipts, ledgers, journals. One notebook had a note scribbled inside the front cover. "If you're reading this, it means I failed, but maybe you won't." Inside were entries, decades worth. He'd known about Mom's fixers, about the shell companies, about the affairs, the accidents, even Josh. There was a name circled 3 times. Michael Arthur Lang. Finally, a real last name, an old address, a list of donors she paid off, even a scanned copy of a payment to a consulting group called Sundial Strategies. The name I'd seen on the storage unit records. They weren't just laundering reputations, they were laundering people. One journal entry gutted me. She said Lena was too unstable to be trusted, that if we didn't contain her, she'd ruin us all. I didn't believe it then. But God help me, I didn't stop her either. I slammed the book shut. I wasn't unstable. I was inconvenient. There's a difference. Sophie walked into the room as I stood there, clutching the journal. She looked at it, then at me. "I found something too," she said. She handed me an envelope. Inside, a faded letter. To Mom. From Josh. It was dated 2 months before his death. "I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend. She thinks I love her, but I'm dying inside. I know what you said about keeping her within control, but this isn't control. It's manipulation, and I can't live with it. If you want to fix this, fine, but don't involve me anymore. If you keep pushing, I'll tell her everything." I stared at it, not just because of what it said, but because of what it didn't. There was no signature, because the page had been ripped. I looked at Sophie. She was pale, quiet, almost trembling. "You didn't tell me you had this." "I didn't remember," she whispered. I found it in Mom's file box. I wasn't even looking. "No," I said, backing away. "You always said you hated him, that you didn't trust him." "I didn't." Then why didn't you warn me? Silence. Then, because I was jealous. The words sliced through the air. I was the responsible one, the invisible one, and suddenly, you were the broken bird everyone loved. Even him. I didn't want him to hurt you, Sophie said, voice cracking, but I didn't want him to love you either. I didn't speak. I couldn't, because I didn't know which part cut deeper, the betrayal or the honesty. Maybe both. Maybe that's what sisterhood is. A slow, shared bleed. I walked out of the house without another word, got in my car, turned on the engine, and whispered, they all had their reasons. Now I have mine. I didn't sleep for the next 36 hours, not because I was afraid, because I finally saw the board and I knew where to move. I started with the name, Michael Arthur Lang, tried court records, tax filings, death certificates, nothing. But one database, old property liens, showed a Michael A. Lang as trustee on a foreclosure in 1998, tied to a summer camp that mysteriously shut down after a student accidentally drowned. The name of the camp? Sundial Youth Wellness Retreat. Same sundial as the consulting firm Mum hired. This wasn't just a cover name, it was a playbook. I dug deeper, found a list of donors to Sundial strategies over the past 20 years, all private, all anonymous, but matched to bank shells tied to high-net-worth families. Families with messy children, families with scandals, and one name stood out, Huxley Beaumont, trustee of a powerful nonprofit, former board chair of Mum's charity, publicly squeaky clean. Privately? His son was accused of assaulting 2 classmates in 2013. No charges were ever filed. Guess which consulting firm handled the incident? I knew where to go next. Not to Beaumont, to his son. Found him on LinkedIn, working a low-key job at a tech startup in Austin. I sent him one message. I know what Sundial did for your father, and I know what they made you sign. He replied in under 10 minutes. Who are you? I sent a photo. The ring. On my palm. He sent me an address. We met at a dingy cafe just off I-35. He wore a hoodie, baseball cap, the costume of someone who's been told to disappear. He didn't speak for the first 5 minutes. Then, without looking up, he said, they told me I hurt someone. I believed them. They made me believe I was dangerous. I didn't interrupt. They kept me in a clinic for 14 months. No phone, no outside contact. When I got out, I was on medication I didn't need, with memories I couldn't trust. I leaned forward. Sundial? He nodded. They wiped me out and said they were protecting me. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small flash drive. They keep a ledger. I saw it once, back when I was allowed to log donation receipts. Donors, clients, names of every incident they handled. I wasn't supposed to have this. He slid it across the table. But if you're taking them down, I am, I said. Then burn them all. That night, I loaded the drive. The ledger was real. Code names, amounts, outcomes. But I recognized the language. Client 17B, false OD, containment initiated. Client 22R, marital scandal, threat neutralized. Client 34M, fiancé non-compliant, asset relocated. Fiancé, non-compliant. My hands shook. That was me. One entry near the bottom stopped me cold. Client 34M, code Venus. Subject failed to maintain containment. Psychological deterioration observed. Long-term strategy shifted to sympathy cleanse. Initiate romantic proxy to pacify. External party selected, Joshua A. Carrington. Mission status, completed. Completed. They called it a mission. Like my life was a fucking assignment. I couldn't breathe. Because it wasn't just that Josh was chosen. It was that he was part of it from the start. The first date, the first accidental meeting, the proposal. None of it was real. Or maybe all of it was. And that's what made it worse. A week before his death, Josh wrote that letter. Told my mother he was done. But what if he didn't disappear? What if they disappeared him? Not to kill him, but to start again. I checked the metadata on the last voicemail again. Matched it to one of the hospital facilities I flagged earlier, outside of San Marcos. Small, off-grid, privately funded, not open to the public, owned by a shell company under Sundial. I didn't hesitate. I drove. It was 3 a.m. when I pulled off the highway. Gravel crunched under the tires as I parked under trees. Facility sat in silence, a dim security light, no guards at the gate. I circled around the back, found a service entrance. Unlocked. I stepped inside, smelled bleach, old coffee, silence. Then I heard it. A TV, somewhere down the hall. I followed the sound, and there he was. Josh. Older, paler, staring blankly at a daytime sitcom, expression hollowed out. He didn't look surprised to see me, didn't move. I stepped closer. "Josh," I whispered. His eyes flickered, then slowly, painfully, focused on mine. "Lena," he rasped. It took me a second to register what I was seeing. He was lucid, but slow, measured, like every word had to squeeze through 10 years of fog. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. I knelt down. "Why are you here?" I didn't follow the rules. "What rules?" His eyes flicked toward the ceiling. "They said you were broken, that I was supposed to guide you, but I started loving you." A pause. "And that wasn't part of the plan." I cried then. Not for him, not even for me. For the part of me that had waited 8 years to hate him, only to find out she still didn't know how. I helped him up. He could walk barely. We didn't talk, we just left. I didn't take him back to the motel. I took him to a safe house, one I rented under Sophie's name months ago, before any of this began. I told him I needed time. He nodded, then said something that shattered me. "I know you'll burn it all down. That's why I always loved you." That night, I opened the ledger again, typed one final name, Client 34M. Status reclaimed. Then I hit save and started building the bomb. Not a real one, a digital one, a reputation killer, a truth that couldn't be erased. There's a moment right before you strike, a strange kind of silence, not calm, not peace, something like gravity shifting, like all the air's holding its breath, waiting for the match. That's how it felt when I hit send. The first drop was small, just a leak. An anonymous email sent to 3 local reporters and 2 national Reddit whistleblower threads. It included excerpts from the Sundial ledger, audio of Tyler's wife's session, photos of donation checks, and that one line in black and white: "Initiate romantic proxy to pacify. External party selected. Joshua A. Carrington." It took 3 hours to go viral. By the next morning, #Sundial Files was trending on X. A journalist from Vice picked it up. Then ProPublica. Then the damn New York Times. I didn't stop there. I sent another package, this time to the Ethics Board of National Philanthropic Councils, where my mother held her precious seat. It had everything. Tax returns, donations funneled to Shell charities, internal emails from her assistant. I hacked her inbox. Sorry, not sorry. A video message from Josh, pre-ghosting, confessing to what he'd been told to do, and a final note: "You wanted to build your legacy on silence. Here's your echo." They called an emergency meeting within 24 hours. My mother issued a non-denial denial. "These allegations are deeply hurtful. My family has suffered too much already." She tried to spin it as a smear campaign by unstable former associates. She shouldn't have said that last part, because that's when I dropped the final video. It was me, looking directly into the camera, raw, undone, but steady. I'm Lena Morris. My mother told the world I was unstable, that I was broken, that I imagined everything. But what she didn't say, Bazar, was that she paid men to seduce me, that she erased my fiancé, that she called me defective, then made it true. Here's the truth. I wasn't unstable. I was inconvenient. And now I'm undeniable. Cut to screenshots, bank statements, wire transfers, medical records, video of Josh in the facility, Tyler's testimony, Sophie's tearful confession. It wasn't just a reveal, it was an execution. The backlash was swift. By day 3, my mother was asked to step down from her foundation. Sundial's license was under investigation. Multiple clients came forward, survivors of gaslighting, medical coercion, financial blackmail. But the part that made me laugh, the part that felt like justice, an old interview resurfaced. My mother, circa 2004, being asked, "What's the most important thing to protect in this world?" And she said, "Control." Of course she did. I still hadn't spoken to her, not directly, until that call came. Blocked number, static at first. Then her voice, flat, good. "You made your point." "No," I said, "not yet." "You've destroyed your own family." "No, Mom, you did. I just turned on the lights." Silence, then, "What do you want?" I smiled. "You always told me I ruin everything, and I just wanted to hear you say I was right." Then I hung up. That was the first time I felt free, not happy, not even relieved, just done. And that was enough. Josh stayed off grid. He said he needed time to learn how to be someone again. I didn't argue. He left me one letter before he disappeared again. "Don't look for me. You already saved me once." Tyler started a group for survivors. Sophie quit her PR job and started therapy. And me? I finally changed my number. I still wear the ring sometimes. Not as a memory, as a warning. To myself, of what love can become when used as a leash. But I don't hide anymore. I write, I speak. Not for clicks, for the women like me. The ones they said were too much to be believed, too emotional, too angry, too loud. Turns out, that's exactly what brought the house down. I visited my father's grave last week, left no flowers, just the notebook. Open to the page that once said, "If you're reading this, it means I failed." I added a new line below it, but I didn't. On the last day of summer, I drove to the coast, rented a room on the edge of nowhere, watched the tide pull back, and whispered not to anyone else, just to myself, "You wanted me to stay quiet. You should have known better."